Most people are stuck in a system designed to work harder and not smarter. We're here to expose the strategies, the loopholes and the life hacks the 1% use. This is universal basic knowledge.
A lot of people are wondering, how can I travel the world? How can I stay in 5-star resorts? How can I fly business class without spending a fortune? You've seen people do it, but is it really possible? Today, we're going to show you exactly how it works and the best services to use to get that 90% off luxury vacation. Social media will have you believe that everyone is traveling first class and they're probably doing it for free. Some guru telling how it's possible and how they're doing it. But is it actually possible? Today, we're going to show you exactly how it works. And yes, I understand the irony that we're also on social media telling you how to do this. Most people believe that travel is expensive because they don't understand how airlines, hotels, and credit card companies actually work. The truth is, the entire travel industry is built on one thing: points and reward systems, at least for the savvy 90%. So there are two types of travelers in the world: people that either pay full price or use rewards inefficiently. But what did the savvy do? They leverage these systems and they travel for damn near free. So most of you watching this are probably familiar with points and rewards, right? In 2025, everyone's talked about it, but are you using them in the most effective way possible? We're going to break that down here today. One of my favorite systems for points is the Amex credit card system. Now, most people are using the system incorrectly, right? They think that they're using points to travel for free, but really they're using the Amex Travel Bank to essentially pay dollar for dollar. So say that I use my Amex cards, and one of the best ways to build up points is to sign up for these credit cards when they have great credit card point offers, right? And so there's tons of different credit cards. We've done a video in the past, we'll link it here in the show notes, of how to maximize and how you can do things with credit cards themselves. But let's focus on the Amex example. Right now, I got a mailer in my mailbox for 150,000 points for signing up for the Amex Platinum account. So say that I get that 150 points, I qualify, I do all that stuff. Now, when you have 150,000 points, you could do two things with it. You could either use it in the Amex travel portal, and the travel portal is not where you want to book your travel, right? Unless you absolutely have to book it with dollars, because what the travel portal is, it's basically Hotwire or hotels.com for points. And so what you'll see is there will be a flight or a hotel, and the flight will be for first class. It'll be like $5,000 one way, right? Pretty normal fare, and how the people that are not effective at doing travel are going to fly. And then a nice hotel, say you want to stay at the St. Regis, $1,000 a night, right? And so the total for just one day plus the hotel is going to be $6,000. Now, what I see a lot of people doing, and you do not want to do this, so this is why I think it's so important, and whether it's Amex or Chase, they're all the same, is that at the end of that travel portal, they're going to say, do you want to pay $6,000 with your credit card, or do you want to use your points against the $6,000? The value that they attribute for every point is essentially 60 cents, right? So in this case, you're not even going to get this at best, depending on your credit card portal. Usually it's 1 point to $1 would be $1,500, right? In this situation with Amex, they cut you 40%, right? So essentially it's $900. So this 150,000 points is only worth $900 in this scenario, meaning that you're still going to pay out of pocket $5,100. So basically, you used your 150 points to cover a $1,000 hotel room, if that. Now, here's a savvy way to do this, okay? Inside of Amex, they have a bunch of partner airlines that they are partners with, right? This is where you're going to see Emirates. You're going to see, a variety of different services, Lufthansa, etc., right? And usually there is a conversion value for those points. And so what you may see is for the same flight that is $50,000 or $5,000 here, that same flight might be 50,000 miles on Lufthansa, as an example, for a first class ticket, right? And so what you can do is you can then take your Amex points. Remember, we have 150,000 of them. And this is 50,000 miles. And each mile is worth 1 point. So in this situation, you are now sending 50,000 points to get this first class ticket. And you're only spending 50,000 points for this $5,000 flight. And this flight is free, right? And I still have 100,000 points left, right? So the value that I just got out of this is $5,000 instead of 900, right? For the hotel, one of the partners is also Marriott, right? The Marriott Bonvoy. And so essentially I can take another, if this is this $1,000 room, maybe it's 90,000 points, right? And now I can transfer that. In my opinion, you should never actually use the hotel points into Marriott. They're much better for flights. You get way better value. Occasionally, if you have a great rate, you could do it. But in this scenario, I got my flight and hotel and still had 10,000 points left, right? Even if I decided to not be intelligent and use this 90,000 points. And so instead of spending $5,100, you were spending $0 and you have 10,000 points left. So the idea here that most people are not doing is that they are not looking at the conversion rate within the travel point system. This is the smartest thing that you can possibly do. Now, one of the biggest issues that we generally see and the biggest hassles on why people don't want to do this is because it's hard to find these travel airline flights that are potentially there. You have to go through all these different systems, sign up for their reward membership, and that's where a very, very special tool comes into play. There's a service called Seats.aero. I am not being paid by them to advertise this to you. I personally use this service. I actually pay for the membership here. It's $9. It's also free. And what this service does is it takes all of these flights, all of these airlines from around the world, American Airlines, Lufthansa, Emirates, Singapore Airlines, Japan Airlines, United, and it will tell you every single reward flight in the entire world. And you could put within 3 to 7 days of whenever your expected travel dates are. And what you'll see is the economy tickets, how many points it is, the business class tickets, how many points it is. And then you could then book those tickets there so that you know exactly where to transfer your miles to get that value. And so that is one of the best services I've ever seen. And I wish I found about it earlier. I only found about it 2 years ago, but it literally has transformed and saved my life. One of the other best features that I would utilize on this service is that if you are not picky about the airport that you're flying out of, and so you're willing to fly out of any hub, any place in the United States, say you want to go to Dubai, you can also fly to Abu Dhabi. They're only about an hour away. And you could put something like, I'm willing to fly anywhere from the East Coast to Dubai or Abu Dhabi, since those airports are one away. One thing that you're going to learn about reward flying is that you need to be a little bit flexible with your schedule if you want to get these $20,000 tickets for 95% off. However, it is totally worth it when you're not spending $20,000 and you know the guy next to you sipping champagne and you paid 90% less than he did. And so those are one of the biggest hacks that I will say. So what are the best ways to rack up points? Best way to rack points. Okay. So one of the first things that you want to do is you want to sign up for the right credit cards. There's a ton of different services out there where you can compare. Oftentimes every year there is certain bonuses. You want to look on Reddit. I would always put best credit card reward points, Reddit. We might link a couple here that make sense. Again, we're not getting affiliate commissions for any of this stuff. It's just ones that we've done ourselves. We had another video that showed you how to apply to a lot of different cards, but you want to find the right credit cards and use them for what you want. So for me personally, one of my favorite cards is, again, the Amex card, just because it has one of the best travel systems for conversions. Another really good one for hotels is the Marriott card, the Marriott Bonvoy card. I have one both for my company and my personal. This basically allows you to get up to 16x reward points, right? If you use this to pay, one of the biggest things that I see that people don't do is utilizing this card. They use a standard card instead. Well, if you're paying $100, for every $100, you're getting 16% off. I mean, if you're spending $10,000 a year on hotels for your company or on personal, or you have a big vacation, 16% is quite a lot, right? You're getting an extra $750 just for free. And so this card is very, very helpful. They have a bunch of different versions on that. And you always want to utilize that, because the other benefits that you get is that you'll eventually get status. And that means you can check out at 4 p.m. You could do all these extra things. And that will also save you money, because you won't have to get that 11 a.m. checkout. That's a huge hassle and then or book an extra day if you have a late night flight the next day. So that's one of the things I'll definitely recommend. And you definitely want to find the cards and stack up these points for your favorite airlines. And there's a ton of benefits there. Now, the second thing that you'll generally see is once you're approved for these cards, how do you actually hit the spend limits? Because usually it's associated, like, I had a card that I signed up for and I had to spend $30,000 in the first 3 months. That's a fair bit of money to just spend in the first 3 months. What I personally do is I try and think about what are bills or things that I am going to spend on regardless, even if it's not going to be in the first 90 days. And so an example for me is, you can go to Costco, right? Or a bunch of different websites, and you could buy Amazon gift cards at the website, right? You can buy Amazon gift cards. You can buy gas cards. You can buy a bunch of things that you're going to pay with that card, essentially, and you're doing something called manufacturer spending. Now, there's a bunch of terms and service on these card websites that say that you can't do manufacturer spending because in the past, 10, 20 years ago, what people would do is they go and buy gold coins or they buy dollars from the US Mint and then deposit those dollars into their account. And so, the credit card companies put a kibosh to that, but you're still able to go to everyday stores and buy gift cards and other things that are going to add value so that you can hit that $30,000 limit. In some things, if you have a bunch of friends, pay for all the bills on the restaurant and then make sure your friends pay you back. And then you will definitely get to that $30,000 spend and you get all those bonus rewards. And so there's a bunch of different ways to be creative on that. I also would encourage you to, look at the term manufactured spending strategies. You can look it up on Reddit. There's a variety of things and videos out there for you to get the idea of how to get to these milestones that you need to activate these points without going into a ton of debt. Okay. The third thing that you want to focus on is you want to get the right strategies and use the right services. We talked about a couple on today. Services like Seats.Aero is a really great one. That one is one of my favorites. And then essentially there are other services that you can find, hidden fares. And another one that's really interesting, if you can't find, this is something that I personally do as well, is I will also look for refundable fares. Sometimes I will book a refundable fare at normal cost if I can't find the reward fare, and it'll be my last and worst case scenario. So basically, if I know I have to be somewhere at a certain period of time and there just isn't a reward fare available, I will book a refundable ticket. And then sometimes in that last week, something may pop up. And then essentially I can travel with the reward fare and cancel my original ticket. This is something that people often say is like, I don't like the uncertainty of booking a reward fare or not having a reward fare. And so one of the things that I've found that have been really helpful as just a tidbit when I need to be somewhere is I will book a refundable fare, pay the normal price that everyone's going to pay because it's just not available. And sometimes I will see a reward fare pop up last minute and book that instead and cancel the refundable. Travel can get really expensive, but if you use the right strategies, it doesn't have to be. Want to start traveling the world for 90% off? Join our free community. The difference isn't income, it's information. This is universal basic knowledge.